Bam. And we are
And we are
live.
live. There we go. Oh, all the tricks we got to do.
Awesome.
All right. So,
And we are
welcome.
live,
We're
Rich.
going to give a couple minutes just to get everyone in play. But yes, we
Awesome.
are live and moving along here. Where am I at? I want to make sure I get. Let's see.
All right. We are live on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's
Okay.
already live. Hey, everyone. Let me check it out on Substack. Substack, we're live as well. Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So,
Hey, everyone on LinkedIn, Substack.
go up here.
And we're live on Facebook as well. That's amazing, huh?
Yep.
There we go, man.
There we
We're
go. All right.
everywhere. Thanks to the Dumbledore Rich Dornish, he's the wizard of the technology over here. Awesome.
We are figuring it all out and making this happen. New fancy ways of communicating with everyone. Trying to bring up this game so that we can really have good conversations with everyone. So this is just a start. We're not live 100% yet. We're going to give a couple more minutes because we don't go live until noon, but we got on early just to kind of keep going through all our new settings and setups and fun stuff.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And so just to give you guys a bit of context, we've been doing this for the past like 2 months, I believe. We started out on doing this kind of conversations on Substack, bringing a bunch of different topics, and now Rich just brought a new narrative to it. So we just introduced corners conversations, and we define like a default description, which really resonates with everything that we were doing, like where every voice matters and every story has a seat, so we're just two curious guy. Rich is from Philadelphia, I'm from Brazil. We are business partners. Rich has a bunch of cool projects as well. He's writing a book. You guys are gonna get to the opportunity to understand everything that we're doing on a
Mm-hmm.
backstage, and we just happen to have great conversation here about a bunch of topics, and it's ton of fun, and it's a great opportunity to share this with you guys as well, right, Rich?
Exactly. Exactly. It's just about really building it out and seeing what we can make happen.
Mhm.
It's about that community, that connection. So we're excited to make this new adventure. From now on, this will be called Corners Conversation. So that way you can look for it, and we will have it scheduled out a little bit further in advance. So that way you can put it on your calendar. We are always going to be live Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So those are two that you can plan for. But we might do others as we go. And then we, of course, have our Corners social media app that we are building out, which is different than your normal social media. It's a network, it's a community, it's much more. And on there, we can get into live conversations with each other. So we'd love to have you there and join in on the after side. And there's Joe. Hey, Joe.
Yep, that's amazing, Rich.
All right. So So we are about to get going here. Um, what do you think on beyond the algorithm, Cleo? What's your thoughts?
That's a very interesting topic. And whenever we talk about, algorithm, social media, and network, we can always remember like back in the days, like whenever we had the first like blogs, what else? Whenever MySpace came around and so on and so on, they were all designed to be like social networks,
Hmm.
and I believe what a lot of the people are talking about right now is what we can call the doom scrolling, so like we have so much content being generated, by the seconds, that it's really the algorithm right now which dictating what we see and what we don't see, and I was talking to a great creator, yesterday actually, about this, and he was talking to me that like, hey, different platforms, it's really hard to stand out because right now, what the algorithm uh, pushes, it's viral stuff. It's like dance, like, and I'm talking about the main social medias that you guys know, like Instagram, TikTok, and even LinkedIn, So the algorithm wants engagement. Okay.
Hmm.
So obviously it's gonna benefit the users who kind of, has the best hooks. And this
Yeah.
creator was talking about to me about like, hey, my content, it's depth, it's a quality content, is well written, it's a topic based, it's niche, like I cannot compete with those dance trends,
Yeah.
those superficial contents. Like whenever the algorithm, so just a quick parenthesis on this, what the algorithm on those platforms they do, whenever you post something, it will, analyze the next 2 3 hours of your content, like from virality, stickness, and so on and so on. So if me and Rich posted at the same time, but Rich posts something, that is viral, and I post something that is not interesting to the users, what the algorithm is going to do is going to hide my post and it's going to show to less people. And what it's going to do with rich content is going to show to more people, you know. So that's just a broad view that take us beyond the algorithm,
Hmm. Yeah, and the algorithm has gotten very strong in many ways, where it now looks at so many factors of who you are, what you do, what you like, what was the last thing you looked at on the web, what's the last thing you talked about, it might have picked up in a conversation. it, things are picking up all over the place. You don't even realize it half the time, that these algorithms are tapping into information. They're not recording you. Don't you know? It's not necessarily a recording of you, but they are tapping into things that it hears, words that can trigger things. You will notice if I see it all the time. I mention something, and then I look on my email, or I look on Google, and things like that start popping up. Didn't say anything to that. Never typed it into my phone, but somewhere it got that I said that. So it's definitely out there. These algorithms are very strong, but the problem is, to your point, then they start to overtake on the wrong things. The things that you really want
Mhm.
to see aren't getting presented, because now it's distracting you and taking you down these rabbit holes. And that's where we get into the exhaustion, the exhaustion of the glow, that glow of the a phone. We're getting over stimulated so much because every time we start going into something, there's so many things that takes us down another path. And that's the problem with the algorithms is they're baiting you and they're taking you down those rabbit holes.
Yeah, and you said something really interesting, and obviously it's a myth that the apps keep on the background, listening to our microphone and stuff like that. That's not true. That's a myth. But what they do is right now, a lot of those platforms and a lot of those websites, for example, let me use Meta as an example. Meta has a lot of tracking pixels, in this, I believe, like even trillions of websites, if if we go that far, they are all sharing information
Mm-hmm.
with this network of pixels. So what it does is, all right, so I went to this website. If this website has a pixel, it's going to share their information with Meta and say, like, hey, Khalil just visit this website.
Yeah.
And what that does is whenever I go into Instagram or to any other Meta platform, it's going to show me ads,
Yeah.
based on that, and vice versa. So it's just, it became
Yeah.
an advertisement platform, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
it's trying to recommend you the best stuff. And obviously at the end of the day, it's a marketplace.
Yeah,
Go
and
for it,
that's what
Rich.
most of our social medias are now. That they are
Yeah.
marketplaces. They are advertising hubs for us. Yes, we get some other benefits from it, but because it's free, you got to deal with all the other stuff, and that's the thing. We love that. We don't have to pay for some of these things like Facebook and stuff like that. But then, on that same note, you're going to get all the other stuff that comes
Yeah.
with it.
And I believe that's the fork, because in my perspective, I'm not saying that, like, so platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they did something for especially small business, something amazing, that you can reach out to certain audiences, and advertise your products,
Hmm.
something that for small business was really hard back in the days, because any type of advertising back in the days was like mainly TV, outdoors, or radio, which are very expensive,
Hmm.
So right now, with a few $100s, you can advertise in one of those platforms. So where does the four comes in? And I believe that's where exhaustion starts to pop up. In my point of view, it stopped being a social network, So whenever you see people, and I tend to pay attention a lot about this, but whenever you see people on the street, and they're like scrolling into those platforms, they're doing so fast. They're not even paying attention to any content. Like they're not reading it through, They're like
Hmm.
less than a second in each content, So in my perspective, it stopped being a social network. People sometimes they spend hours, they haven't exchanged a word with anyone, they haven't interact with anyone, and a lot of those creators as well, there's so much, communication going on that they cannot reply to everyone, they cannot respond to every direct message, so I believe that's already showing a toll on mental health on people, because people they have the false sensation they are connected to all those people, but at the end of the day they're not, it's a one-way street, like those people are communicating with the audience, but they're not receiving it back, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's not really like a coffee shop kind of table conversation, It's like, hey, broadcast media, I'm sending the message out there, and a huge audience is receiving that information, So
Exactly.
that's what a lot of people right now, they even came up with this concept called doom scrolling. So like doom scroll is like you're just spending hours over there, just scrolling through content.
Exactly. And it's an endless thing that we end up doing. And it can be, sometimes it can be fun, but a lot of times we start getting obsessed with something, whether it's a topic of news or a topic of something going on in the world that we just want to learn more about, and we just keep looking and looking and looking, and next thing we know, hours have gone by.
Hours. Exactly.
So then we end up with that hangover of endless scrolling, because we just we couldn't stop.
Can stop. Like if you want to go down the rabbit hole, press the explore button on Instagram. You're gone. Like you,
Exactly.
you're gone, brother. Like, hey, forget everything. And sometimes you see that the experience, sometimes you're there and there's people talking to each other, like they're not even paying attention, you know? And obviously what that does to the brain, it's so much dopamine.
Hmm.
Like the algorithm, it's made to hook people.
Yeah.
The more active users, the more screen time that you have, the better, because obviously it relies on an advertising business model. The more ads that it shows us, the more ads that you click on, the best. So
Hmm.
again, just know this. A lot of those platforms, they became advertising platforms. So
Yeah.
if you're looking to depth, if you're looking to something outside of that thing, if you're looking for meaningful conversations, to quality content, just know that you need to go somewhere else. You
And that's
probably
why.
not gonna find that there.
Exactly, and that's why a lot of people are on Substack with us. That's the
Exactly.
one of the beauties of Substack is it's not advertising, though is some business in it, and there is some advertising happening. It's not like on the other platforms, so it is definitely much nicer in that way. But to the algorithm, it will work on what you look at. So now you are looking at X, which maybe you're looking at, let's say you're looking at science. So now everything you're looking at is science. So it's going to keep feeding you science, but you might have some other interest out there, but because you don't look at that, it's not going to present it to you. And until someone presents it to you, you may not even know that it's available on Substack. So that's the downfall of how these algorithms work, because it's only giving you what you looked at last. It's not giving you other options. You might have said, I want to look at fiction, and I want to look at science, and I want to look at health. But because you always looked at health, science to start with, it just starts to default to that and goes, well, you really like that, so let me keep giving you that. And that's where I find a lot of people, like, they don't understand, why am I not growing? Why are other people not seeing me? It's because people don't know you're existing, because they don't go into your area. So you need to kind of connect with them, and that's a Substack trick that I've learned, is you have to connect with other areas and get that cross communication happening, and then people start to notice who you are.
Exactly.
So the endless scrolling is going to be something that we need to kind of get away from. I think a lot of us want that, and that's why a lot of people do social media detoxes and stuff like that, because they see that they are almost in that doom scrolling of never stopping. And you wake up first thing in the morning, and you start to do that. I've been guilty of it. I'm trying not to, but it's a hard thing once you get in that habit. So we need to all kind of remember how easy it is to do that stuff, but it's not necessarily a healthy habit. Um, but then there's some great things that you can get. Like Substack has all these great articles and stuff like that. So it's a great, like, reading of a newspaper or whatever. But you also need to keep uh, consistent with other things in your life too, and that's where you need to have more communication with people. And that's where something like this is nice because there's a conversation happening. Although it would be nice, and this is where Corners comes in, where we can have a two-way conversation versus just a one-way conversation. So those are things that you're going to see as social media changes. But the first thing is we got to get back to um, getting that trust. Is it an algorithm or is it a human curation? We need to get that trust built back. And what what really works for us? Is it more of what that algorithm is deciding for us, or is it more of what we are saying we want?
Exactly. And I believe, it's about taking the wheel. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the social media experience right now, as you talked about, it's like, hey, you jumped in a golf cart, and you're in the passenger seat.
Mhm.
Somebody is driving you through the shopping mall, and deciding what do you see and what do you not see.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you mentioned, you have your opinion, but it's really up to the algorithm, to bring in. And I believe that we're seeing a bell curve on it. So a lot of people join those platforms, but right now, again, we come to the fork. Those platforms, they're going to still be around. They're doing a great job for a specific market, for small business, and so on. For professionals, a lot of professionals, like you said, are benefiting as well from Substack, like journalists, writers, coaches, and so on and so on. And obviously, again, it's not a winner takes all market.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever, and there's where the bell curve comes in, because back in the days, obviously, Facebook was the biggest one. Then Instagram came around. Then LinkedIn started being popular. So do you see the niche market that they started creating?
Mhm.
So a lot of people at the beginning were mainly on Facebook, but now they know that professionally wise, job wise, they need to be on LinkedIn. Oh, if I want this kind of content, if I'm a writer, if I'm a journalist, if I'm, and so on, oh, that's Substack. A lot of the younger generation, for example, Snapchat, TikTok, and so on, and so on, like,
Yeah.
and gamers, Discord, Twitch, and obviously, Corners comes in with a specific value proposition because like we mentioned, and something that I found out, by experience is every social media has a Pareto, right? What that means is 80% of the content is generated by 20% of the accounts.
Mhm.
Okay. So those 20%, they are called creators, so they create content, they engage, either they have a good communication or they want to create content, they want to talk about something. But what about the rest? What about this 80% of the people that are not creating content? And I was that guy, said, hey, I don't really, I want to have conversations, I like philosophy, I like spirituality, I like to talk about politics, economy, global affairs, and so on and so on, So we said, okay, so let's create a place for that, where those people who are looking for, human curation, that want to take the wheel, that want to have conversations, that's where they go, and that's the trust that is being built on everything that me and Rich are doing as well. It's a ton of fun. What are your thoughts around this, Rich? Make sense to you?
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly it. I mean, it it's about choices of what you want. It's also about the human connection of what you want. What we're
Exactly.
seeing happen in a lot of areas is that human is getting a little bit more replaced by AI, and we're seeing
Exactly.
more AI driven content, and that is good in some ways, but then it's also very bad because we're not seeing the true human sides that we want. And
Exactly.
to a point where who's making it? Do we even know who's making it? So that's a whole other side that it's not a bad thing. I don't want to say that's a bad thing, but it's not something that you want everything of. You want human created content. You want human conversations. You want that real side to it. Like let's remember there is the reality, and then there's the fantasy. Well, okay, AI can get a little bit more on that way, but let's get into reality. We want that real conversation, that real human connection, and that's the big part.
And you said something amazing, because obviously everything has a downside and an upside. And regarding the use of AI, I'm gonna use the example for like entrepreneurs. Imagine that, that woman that sells Amway, for example,
Mhm.
and she used to do that door to door. Now with Instagram, with TikTok, she's also, going to those platforms to advertise and to sell more. With AI, that woman is an army of itself. She's
Mhm.
able to generate so much content, which she was already doing it, but it was taking almost the entire available time that she had,
Yeah,
like record clips, create scripts, edit, so on and so on. Right now with AI, she can do like more in a third of the time, So
exactly.
that's the positive. And again, like you just said, Rich, and I agree with you, it's just a matter of choices. All right, so hey, where do I want to go? I want this kind of content. I want this kind of interaction. It's the same thing. Through our lives. Oh, I want to go to this coffee shop. I want to go to this bakery. I want to go to this park. Depending on the kind of experience that you're looking for, you're gonna choose where to go. It's the
Exactly.
same thing online. Hey, what am I looking for? What kind of experience I'm looking for, So that's where your mind should be at, whenever you think about where trust,
Mhm.
algorithm, human curation. I want to have real connections. I just want to, scroll through content. I want to see what journalists are talking about, what writers are talking about. So keep in mind, Substack, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and you have a bunch of other stuff. And now, obviously, corners. That's the place that you should go whenever you look for real conversations.
Exactly. And to your point on that Amway person, back to that example, I think that's a great one. That she might be able to do more, but the thing is she is still involved in it. She is still the source of it, and she is being the human part of it. There
Exactly.
has to always be that part, because if you just create an AI to go and start selling it, yeah, you might get some sales, but
Exactly.
you're going to start getting to a point where people are going to go, yeah, I don't like that, or that's
Hmm.
too fake, or they're just going to start
Definitely.
seeing through it, and you're going to eventually start to lose on it. So the human side, which is what was making it the sales to begin with, that needs to always be at the source of it. And I think
Exactly.
that's the trick that people think, like, oh, we can just get away with doing it this way. Maybe for a little bit, because it's new and it's easy to kind of get away with. But as people start to see it, they're going to go, I don't want to give this to this. Let me go to someone who's real. So
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
that's the fun of AI. But the key thing here, though, is that we have options and we have different ways of connecting, and we just need to work on not letting ourselves get burnt out by um, the bigger issues out there. Like, like we want to belong to a crowd versus and part of a circle of care, um, not just scroll, and not just watch and we want to be part of it. Like you can watch and it's great, but is it really great, or are you still lonely in the end? That's where I
Mhm.
see the biggest issue is there's that loneliness that comes in, because you might say, "Oh, I've watched all these great things. I feel connected to this thing," but then are you really connected because you didn't talk to them? You maybe you made a comment on their post or whatever, but is that really a conversation? Not really. So you're not really getting that connection. So that's where I think the real conversations come in, the real talking comes in. We're seeing other platforms starting to do similar things, and that's I think that's the future. Is we're going to see more real conversations happening, especially with AI taking a role into making our jobs easier. We're going to have more time where we want to be social, and that's another factor there.
Exactly. And I agree with you, uh that belonging, right now more and more, even on the offline, if you see people are looking for more, cozy neighborhoods, community driven approaches, even the cities, they are reinventing themselves, we have a lot of projects worldwide, we have the line in the desert, we have the one in Nepal, and here in South America, we have a lot, of
Mhm.
community-driven new real estate developments, where
Yeah,
you have a one-stop shop. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I believe that's the life balance that you're talking about, Rich. We're gonna take a leap, and I believe COVID kind of accelerated this. A lot of people realize like, hey, my life is much better without commuting 4 hours, 3 hours a day going back and forth to work. So a lot of those companies, they, stayed remote, you
hmm
know, because of that quality life balance. And I believe the same things happen with our social interactions. Never before we have so much technology available that we can connect to everyone everywhere, to have those kind of conversations. And obviously, that's where we're bringing to corners, because back in the days, 5 years ago, that was impossible, you know, because cameras, bandwidth, internet connections, we barely had like 3G back in the days. Right now, we have 5G, 6Gs. The internet connection is so good. The devices got so advanced that we can have real time connections with everyone without the lag,
yeah.
that we used to have. So, that brings the world even more together, so we have the feeling of belonging, the care, because we used to joke around, whenever we were starting corners as a social network, we said, hey, I know for certain there is somewhere in this vast world that is, raising their hand and they want to talk about philosophy like me. They have this book in their hand and they're looking around, like, hey, does anyone want to talk about this? We
Yeah.
have 8 billion people in the world, and obviously there's somewhere out there as well, looking for the meaningful connection with you.
And that's the thing. It's not just about getting onto an app and talking about anything. It's about more. You have things you want to talk about. You have
Exactly.
that book, or you have that recipe, or you have that TV show, or whatever the case may be. There's all these topics that we want to share with each other, and we can find that another person who has that same interest, and be able to get into that conversation. And that's the exciting part of it. That like we could always go to a park or to a bar or to a coffee shop or whatever and start talking with people, but they may not be as interested always in the same things that we want to talk about. When you get into this social network of the of online, you can find people from everywhere that are interested in exactly the same things you are. You can schedule, times to talk with people, and you can get just jump on things at times and talk with people. So there's so many different ways of connecting now, and we just need to keep building on that. And that's what we're doing on Corners. We're building on that whole idea of getting it set up so that you can get on there and create your own conversations on your own topics. And that's the exciting part that we're building.
You want to know another great example that happened to me a lot, and obviously, whenever we were interviewing users, to develop Corner's social network, is who never did this, like, hey, something really cool happened, or I discovered something, I was reading a book, or I found something out, and you kind of scroll through your phone book, and
Yep.
you're like, all right, who am I going to call? And I call Rich, but obviously Rich's not going to be available 100% of the time,
Yep.
so he doesn't pick up, and I'm like, all right, who am I going to talk next? And the kind of experience that we're bringing to Corners is like, hey, there's always gonna be somebody, at at the world, that's gonna pick up, either to start the conversation with you, or you can jump in on an ongoing conversation, So that's what fascinates me,
Exactly. The more we grow, the more we can do, and the more that will be the fully the case all around. And we see that on other platforms happening. But are
Yeah.
they doing it quite the same way? Well, no, not really. But we, it's the same thought patterns that we're getting into. So we know that this is the change that's happening in social media, and we're trying to be a little bit ahead of it. And that's where we're heading.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
so
amazing.
that's really the future for us is we're trying to make it bright, hopeful, human centered. That is what we're doing, and we really want to build up on this and grow, not just on Substack but on Corners as well. We build on both areas, but we want them to be a synergy of the two. And then this is now broadcasting not just on Substack, but it's also on LinkedIn, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and we're just going to keep growing on that. So we love that we can do that, and we can share to all these other platforms so that people learn who we are. But we also are saying, come join us, come be part of our world. Whether it's on Substack and you follow us there, or you come on Corners and be part of the real conversations. So we are really excited about this, and um, it just is going to keep growing for us.
Exactly, exactly. And you said something really amazing, Rich, because it's human centered, So the whole business model, it's around the people, So without relying on ads to generate revenue, and obviously keeping the product growing, it's a subscription based model. With that, we can have a hyper focus on the user experience. All right, so what the users want, what do they need, what's the value proposition, how we can improve it's all always about them, what was the future of the community, what could be great for the community, what could, and so on and so on. And that's amazing, because
Mhm.
it's really, we normally say, first the space for thinkers, like we say, hey, if you're looking for the depth, that the quality content, and that real conversation, that's where you go, and we figure it out, interviewing our users, that they come because of the tool, okay,
Yeah.
all the features, the app, and so on. But why do they stay? They stay because of the network, because that's where I'm gonna, find Rich. That's where I'm gonna find Khalil, Ashley, Michi, Justin, Ethan, and so on. And a lot of amazing people that elsewhere they fly under the radar. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Because again, a lot of them, they are not creators, they don't create content as the other people that we mentioned, they are not journalists, they are not writers, they are regular folks like you and me. So Corners is a space for those people, looking for the human-centered experience, for that community-driven approach.
Exactly, and the key. It's about building our communities, and our community doesn't have to be next door. It is a global community now, and we can learn from each other. We can grow together. We it's not about a left, a right, a center, or whatever. It's about community. It's about friendship. It's about honoring the neighbors that you have, and those neighbors are
Amen.
vast. They aren't just your next door neighbor. They are all over. So it's a change in thought in some ways for us, but that's how we grow, and that's how we get into a better headspace for ourselves as well as for the world.
Exactly.
So, what's your closing thoughts here?
My closing thoughts, is that we're gonna have an amazing place for those kind of community approaches, and I believe the same benefit, the same good that these other platforms did for those writers, those journalists, those small business, that woman, that man, selling Amway, what AI is doing to all those people. I believe that's what Corners is bringing, to this new future, like this community-driven approach. Because, like you said, hey, we're gonna have more free time, brother. Like buckle up and be ready. AI is gonna do so much for us. Regarding technology, it's like it's close to our previous industrial revolution. So instead of spending hours tightening screws, they had machines now to do that, and the same thing's going to happen to us right now, with AI and so on and so on, and we're going to have more free time. So all right, what are we going to do with our free time? We're going to talk about our hobbies, we're going to interact with one another, we're going to talk about meaningful stuff, and we're going to just bond together as this huge community.
And we're going to find
Those,
new ways to grow together, but that's how communication happens. Is we
yeah,
talk about it and we dream about it and we start to build on it. So
yeah.
that's the other exciting part to it, is that it starts that foundation for the future.
Exactly. What about you, Rich? What future do you imagine?
I see where communication becomes a key. We right now are not communicating well with each other in the world. We see a lot of that where there's divisions and thoughts of, this person doesn't agree with what I think with, so I don't want to deal with them. We need to get beyond that again. We were there at one point. Let's get back to that. And part of that is the communication needs. We need better communication. So things like this, like Corners, Substack, and other platforms that are doing it are going to help build that communication, because it's about talking with other people, whether you agree with them or not. It's still okay to talk with them and learn from them and understand their opinions, because the reality is everyone has their own thoughts of what's going on in the world, but they're not out to hurt anyone. Not out to be against you. They are following what they've learned or they believe or whatever. And we just need to understand that. And maybe they need to understand us as well. But to get there, we have to talk with each other. And we have to get to a point where we understand and at least respect each other. We don't have to always agree with each other, but we have to get to a point where we can respect each other. And that's the key thing. And that's where spaces like this can help us get there, because we can start talking more about those things and not be limited or fearful of what we say or what we do. Um, so that's my exciting part to see, and that's my future that I dream of, is that we can build some peace again in this world using the communication tools that we have.
Amazing. Amazing, brother.
So here we are at the end. We had another great conversation, and we would love to have you join us on Corners on a Nook. Our Nooks are like little corner conversation areas. That's we call them Nooks. So you can come in and you can join us on a Nook, or you can join in a conversation with a loop, just giving answers to questions that someone's saying or asking. So there's a lot of things we can do, and we're growing on that. And then keep involved with us on Substack as well. You can start conversations. We have our Corners conversation area. You can talk there, or you can send us messages through posts that we do and things like that. So we love to have hear from you and learn more about what your interests are. These conversations that we are having as Corners conversations are going to be vast and all different. This was about a little bit about social media, but the next one probably will be a completely different topic. So we'll start getting more information out on what we're going to talk about ahead of time as we grow with this. But right now we're just really enjoying getting to know everyone and building this out and having fun with it.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing thing, Rich. Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, guys.
So that's a wrap, I think, for today.
Yeah, yeah, sounds amazing.
So we will wrap it for today. Love to hear from anyone. So please feel free to reach out to us, direct message us, chat with us through the Corners area. Come on Corners app and talk with us there. Whatever you want to do, we are here, and we love to talk with you.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Have a great day,
Thank you
everyone.
all. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a good